Welcome to the Medovia Menopause Podcast, your trusted source for evidence-based, science-backed information related to menopause. Medovia is dedicated to changing the narrative about menopause by educating, raising awareness, and supporting women in this stage of life, both at home and in the workplace. Visit medovia.com to learn more. I'm one of your hosts, April Haberman, and I'm joined by Kim Hart. We're co-founders of Medovia, certified health coaches, registered yoga teachers, and midlife mamas specializing in menopause. You're listening to another episode of our podcast, where we offer expert guidance for the most transformative stage of life, bringing you real conversations, education, and resources to help you overcome challenges and reach your full potential through midlife. Join us and our special guests each episode as we bring vibrant, fun, and truthful conversation, and let us help you have a deeper understanding of menopause. Hi, podcast friends. In this episode, we're talking about navigating menopause with holistic health. We have Susan May joining us as we discuss the crucial importance of considering the whole person when addressing menopause and midlife challenges, some of the most common misconceptions or myths about menopause, and some key factors that contribute to a fulfilling and empowered experience of menopause and midlife. Sue May is a menopause and midlife transition coach. She specializes in coaching Gen X women who want to understand what's happening during this challenging life phase, peri to postmenopause. She uses her expertise in nutrition, HRT, mindset, and lifestyle to support women in feeling their best so they can thrive in their personal and professional lives. Sue has additional experience supporting women trying to conceive and juggling fertility treatments while working full-time. We know you'll enjoy this episode as much as we did. Susan, welcome. We're so happy that you could join us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you bet. We're thrilled to have you on the show because Kim and I are both health coaches ourselves, and we all three understand the importance of health coach and the role that it plays with women in midlife and menopause. For those in our audience that aren't familiar with health coaches, can you just unpack that a little bit and explain what a health coach is? What do you do? And how does it differ from other healthcare professionals or wellness professionals in this industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about, the word health coach, and I think it's amazing that you're both health coaches as well, because I think, no matter what we do, that training can only add to everything else we do in our lives. So I think it's really, really wonderful. The coach piece. So as a coach, we are experts in behavior change, in goal setting, and we really are there for our clients, as the support system, the cheerleader, the guide, as opposed to, if you went to your doctor and, you just had this 10-minute conversation where they were saying, okay, we'll take this medication XYZ. We want to be there with you along for the ride. And we really want the change to come from within our clients. So that's really what we specialize in as coaches. And then the health piece. So of course, along with, being your support system and your guide, the health piece, we also, learn about and study lifestyle things like nutrition and mindset and exercise. So we can help our clients along with that too. And more specifically, when it comes to midlife and menopause coaching, I know that I think the importance of that is that as a menopause coach, I truly understand what menopause means for women in their bodies as well as within their entire lives. So it truly does affect everything. Even if you're somebody that just kind of breezes through menopause, I don't really know who that person is because I haven't met them yet, but I know they exist. I know they exist, that just sort of breezes through menopause and is like, okay, I don't really know what the big deal is. I'm not feeling any of these things that people are talking about, all the way to the person that is experiencing every symptom under the sun. both of those people need to understand what it's doing on the inside and what it means for us as sort of the trajectory of our lives and our health. So that's why it is so important to kind of have this specialty and be able to guide midlife women, through this journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you talk about kind of helping the whole person, right? Why do you think that that's so important at this time in midlife with all the challenges?
Yeah, so like I said, the menopause affects us in every aspect of our life. So internally as well as externally. I will say, kind of going back a little bit, so I've been a health coach since 2005. And as a health coach, we kind of go through these different phases of what we do and who we serve in our lives. And I think a lot of times with health coaches, I don't know if you feel the same, but the things that happen to us personally really sort of color the women, in my case, because I support women. What we've gone through, we want to help other women with what they're going through. So we can't help but be sort of obsessed with these different topics as they affect us in our lives. So my first, kind of niche in health coaching was fertility because of my own fertility journey and, how difficult that was. And I did that for a long time. I worked full time after that in a fertility company. And that's when my own menopause experience kind of came to the surface. And as a health coach, I didn't truly understand what was going on because this was something that I didn't learn about. So we don't, even though we're in this kind of menopause bubble where we understand all these things, most women are not. And at that time, I wasn't either. And I wasn't having the stereotypical sort of hot flashes. So I didn't know I was going through menopause, even though age-wise, it made the most sense. And I was having brain fog and I was having, soreness and anxiety and things that were coming from out of nowhere. So long story short, working full time, I decided to get another certification in specifically menopause coaching. And what that did is it truly made me be able to put the pieces together because there's so many pieces. And like you asked, why is it that it's so important for us to reach the whole person when it comes to what we're going through during midlife? And I truly learned how much menopause affects, not just parts of our body, but parts of our lives. So our brain, our heart, our skin, everything is affected by this. And you truly need someone that can help you put the pieces together so that you can break it down in like digestible chunks of things you can do in your life to make it better.
Right.
So I do think it is so, so important that we get this information to all women so they feel less alone, because that's really what I think the goal is here.
Yeah, we find that a lot as we talk to women. It's that lack of community, isolation, loneliness. I think because we have been quiet for so long and silent about our symptoms and suffering, and it hasn't been okay to talk about. And thank goodness that's changing. Thank goodness, the curtain's being pulled back and menopause conversation is front and center. That being said, I know you work with a lot of women in midlife and menopause, and one of the things that we continue to hear as well is that there's just a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of misconception. I mean, you said just a moment ago that it's not just hot flashes. There's so much more with menopause. And I'm wondering if you can share some of the common misconceptions that you hear as you work with women.
Yeah, of course. So I think a lot of the misconceptions, like you said, first of all, are that um, a lot of these symptoms are not necessarily related to menopause that are. So, we know that there's the 34 plus confirmed symptoms of menopause. Um, but I think some women are going to their doctors saying, for example, I am having frozen shoulder, which can be more common in menopause because of, hormone fluctuations, but a lot of doctors would never connect those things. So really understanding how much of these different symptoms can be related to menopause and help, like I said, to put those puzzle pieces together. And then, of course, as you know, all the misconceptions around hormone replacement therapy.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working so hard to really get science backed facts to women regarding what hormone replacement therapy is, what it can do for you, what it doesn't do. And there's so many misconceptions. As soon as you talk about hormone replacement therapy, immediately we're thinking breast cancer, and just how much information we have now to, sort of alleviate those anxieties around, hormone replacement therapy, which of course is not a band-aid, is not for everyone. And I know that there's a lot of talk about this in the menopause space right now. But I think the most important thing is to have the information and to be able to advocate for yourself if that's something that, you are a candidate for. Like I said, I know it's not for everyone. I know it's not a band-aid. I think that some of these things that we talk about with lifestyle modifications, helping our bones, with weightlifting and just the different things that can also help with our health, HRT can be another tool in the toolbox. But we need to have that discussion in a real way without having our doctors just put, the X mark up. Nope. Absolutely not. Won't do that, because they don't truly understand maybe who is and who isn't a great candidate for it. And I think women deserve tools to make them feel good, whatever they are.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about frozen shoulder. I have a friend that had it, and I was like, "Have you talked to your doctor about where your hormones are, and maybe look at your thyroid to see what's going on there?" And she's like, What are you even talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is this related to this point in my life?" And it was just a very interesting discussion because she felt alone, right? And her doctors didn't help her, and the cultural expectations are that we just suck it up and deal with it. But how do you address those kinds of social norms with your clients who are, like my friend and others who are just going with the fact that this is just what's happening to me and I need to just deal with it?
I think that's really where the education piece comes in. And it's so hard because as women, that is something that we've always sort of been told, that we're supposed to just, suck it up, whatever it is, as mothers who are tired, who feel like we're doing it all the different things that we do, that this is just what we do, as women. I think the more and more, it's not, fixed yet, but more and more we're having these conversations. We're helping women to understand that, they're not alone, that there are things they can do to feel better. Unfortunately, we're still sort of living in this kind of ageist society where we push women to the side that are in midlife, kind of having them feel like they're less useful in the world, or, whatever it is. Thankfully, so much more of these conversations are being had where women are understanding that, I still have like maybe half of my life to live. There's so much more that I can do. Let's go through the steps to figure out, okay, like, what? Kim was telling me about my hormones. Maybe that's something that I should have a discussion with my doctor about. And maybe if this doctor doesn't understand, maybe I should find another doctor or a coach or somebody that can actually do what I need to do to feel good. Because I think we feel like maybe we don't deserve to feel good, or that this is it. We just need to settle for kind of just fading off into the distance. But that's not the case. We need to, and that's why, with these kind of conversations, and also community, and having more women get together and have these conversations and understand and learn from each other too. Because I think that it's not just learning from doctors and coaches. It's, us sharing our stories and learning from each other. And I think that it's really important to understand your worth and being able to understand that you're worthy of, having this information and for ultimately feeling better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, what goes hand in hand with that is self-care, right? You are worthy of having this healthcare, the significant change that you're going through, right? That you are worthy of having adequate healthcare, but you're also worthy of self-care. And I think as women, we are so used to taking care of other people our whole lives. We're caretakers. And when we get to midlife, we forget, we don't put ourselves first. We feel guilty when we say the word self-care, right? Or we don't have time for self-care. Like, are you kidding me? Kim and I just did a fireside chat just recently, and someone shared, I don't have time for self-care. We keep talking about that, but when am I going to do that? And sometimes it's just pausing and breathing, right? So have you found that first with your clients? And if you have, what are some of the suggestions and recommendations that you make for your clients? How do we embrace self-care? What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, we do find a lot of the time when I first start meeting with clients is that it's all about time. I don't have the time. But I think that if we really look closer at what self-care really means, and like you said, it could be just taking, when that you're in a situation where you need to kind of pull yourself out of it and just breathe. But it might be that we need to make some tweaks to this no time situation. What are some things that you can say no to? I mean, are you somebody that is constantly saying yes because you feel like you're the only one, for example, on the PTA that can do, all the things and volunteer? Maybe there's some things that you need to say no to that you shouldn't, feel guilty about because I guess it's the cliche, put your oxygen mask on first. There's always that cliche, like you're not going to be able to support people around you if you're not helping yourself. And what that might look like is maybe you don't have, 2 hours to do like a long vinyasa yoga class, but maybe you do have, 20 minutes to put on a YouTube video at home and do some stretching and, doing like I've been doing a lot of yoga lately, so I have yoga in my head, but doing a down dog and just some deep breathing, or maybe doing like a 20-minute meditation on, an app that you have that could do a guided meditation, making sure you get outside in the middle of your day, taking a walk. All these things are so important. And I think that we're going to start to realize that those are the things that are more important than the things that we do when we say we have no time. Mm-hmm. Because I understand that we live these busy lives and we do have a lot of responsibility. So I don't take that lightly. And I really try to work, and I've seen it in my own life, but I think that when I work with clients, we really try to work out those different pieces of your life that you can take time for yourself and how much a change little tweaks can make in the big picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that when you talk to women, everybody's got their different stories or their different things that help them feel better. But do you have some go-to ahas that you keep going back to that the women that you coach are like, oh yeah, that actually helped me. That made a difference. Whether it's frameworks or thoughts or whatever, is there anything that sort of helps people go, oh, okay, I understand now. This is where I am. This is what I need to do, whether it's, self-care or doctor's visits. What are your thoughts on sort of your go-tos as you're thinking through this with women?
Yeah, I think a lot of that piece does come down to the whole mindset part and really kind of reframing our thinking around, for example, thinking about when it comes to changing our way of looking at food or eating, that instead of thinking about, changing the language from I have to do this to like, I get to do this. Like, oh, I get to, nourish my body. And also with that piece, having been in this kind of wellness space for so long is to really change the mindset around thinking that you have to do everything perfectly all the time, or giving yourself a hard time when you don't do something perfect, and kind of like letting women off the hook a lot. Right. And understanding that we need to recognize the small things. Like let's write down, oh, okay, we drank 6 glasses of water today instead of 6 cups of coffee, or 6 glasses of Diet Coke or something like that. Just kind of like recognizing those little goals and how important they are, and changing our mindset around what kind of like what we need to do in our lives, and thinking about them as, get tos instead of have tos. And I think that piece is so, so important. And I do work with women when we talk about, the nutrition and the mindset thing, to me goes hand in hand. And I want women to understand that we're working on getting healthy and not necessarily looking a certain way.
Right.
So I think that mindset change is also really important. And we're so conditioned in our lives as women to go the other route. Like, oh, well, I have to be this size, or I have to look a certain way. And that if we can't change our mindset about sort of like appreciating where we are now and then moving forward. So, I have this body, I can, do 20 minutes of yoga. Like, let's be thankful for that and not really stop scrutinizing the way, maybe our body looks, because that's not helping us in any way moving forward. We have to start from that place. And I think that with everyone, with myself, with anyone that I've ever worked with, changing that kind of mindset is the most important thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's true, for sure. We are raised with this society that tells us that we need to look and perform a certain way and make all these rules for ourselves so that we can, show up. And I love that you're like, just, you get to do these things and you get to be who you are. And that, I like that.
It's
Thank you
so
for sharing.
important.
Yeah.
And I, as you're talking, Sue, I'm a very visual person, and I'm just, I'm picturing myself getting older, and my body is going to change. It just is, right? And if we continue to fight that, it's like standing in a river and you're trying to go upstream, right? You're working against the stream. And if you can embrace and just turn the other direction, reframing your brain, right? Reframing your thoughts and go with the flow, it's so much easier, right? Than going upstream. So I love that. I'm wondering if you could share a success story or maybe a memorable experience from your coaching that stands out for you, that highlights that transformative journey and potential that women have in midlife as we talk about thriving in midlife and menopause.
Yeah. I think, I'm thinking of one in particular, but this is also a common theme, is starting the coaching journey with a really kind of negative feeling about all of the different things that we're going to work on. Like, we're not going to be able to, like we've talked about the exercise thing, not being able to fit it into our lives. We have this negative perception of kind of like what it means to be middle age. And I know that from coaching different women and working with them, it kind of depends on what kind of program they have, but maybe seeing in a month or, a month and a half, getting women to start the session with the positive. And that mindset change sort of is so huge. To start the session with things that they can celebrate. So, and understanding that it's okay to celebrate the small things. So, like I was talking about before, making these small tweaks, or, someone coming and having a list of things they've done that they are proud of. So they changed their breakfast from, just a huge, bagel and cream cheese to maybe adding more fiber, having more, healthy proteins and healthy fats, or like changing that around and making it feel easy. So making it feel like it wasn't this huge chore, and being proud of that, or making sure, these seem like small things, changing the breakfast around, being able to go for a walk for 15 minutes, 4 times a week, actually hitting those goals and starting a session with that positivity, changes everything. And it's the smaller goals that I sometimes feel like make the biggest difference. So, sometimes we come in and we say, and we're so used to these quick fixes. Like we want to take this, weight loss medication because we want to lose 50 pounds tomorrow. And these things are not sustainable. So having them come in and focus on the positive and actually maybe down the road, if one of their big goals is weight loss, that kind of starts to happen slower than maybe if we were to do something like super restrictive or if they got on medication or something like that, but it's more valuable because it's more sustainable. And I've seen that a lot with different clients, and just having them really focus on the positive. And for me too, just anytime, I'm out and I do something in a community of women, I think, one of my favorite things is getting women together and having them share with each other, and just how at the end, everyone just sort of feels like, I'm not alone. Wow, like these are things we don't usually talk about, but getting women to talk about and share their stories is just like, it's amazing. And it just kind of leave those events with such a great feeling.
Yeah.
It brings women together, doesn't it? When we're able to come together in community and talk about things that we don't normally talk about, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sue, as we wrap up today, is there anything that we didn't ask you that you'd want to make sure that you left our audience with?
I don't think anything specific. I mean, I love what I do. I'm super passionate about it. I feel like women, need a guide that I don't expect everyone to be sort of as obsessed with menopause. And, I was just listening to like 2 different menopause podcasts before this interview. So, and I have, menopause brain on my nightstand, and
Yeah.
like, I don't expect everyone else, but that's what we are there for, because we want to kind of break this down for you and understand that like this is something that we're obsessed with, so we can get this information to you, and just break it down to be digestible and help women understand it, educate them, support them, just so they can really live their best lives.
Yeah.
It's funny
But
that
we're
you said,
huge fans, right?
yeah.
Huge
It's funny
fans.
that you said you have menopause brain on your nightstand, because April and I were literally just talking about that book before you came on today. So for our listeners, it's a brand new book by Lisa Mosconi. And it's an amazing read about what happens in your brain and your body during menopause. So I just picked up the book. I've been listening to it on my phone when I'm on my walks, but it's a great book.
Yeah.
Sue, where can people find you?
Yeah. So my website is www.midlifeevolved.com. And you can contact me there. You can read about my different offerings. I do one-on-one coaching. I just started doing these menopause parties where I go into people's spaces and sort of bring community together to learn and ask questions and play games and sort of, somehow make menopause fun.
That sounds
I love
fun.
that. It should be fun, right?
Yeah. And I'm kind of I'm on Instagram at sue.midlifeevolved. They can just, feel free to message me. I'm always up for talking about all the things women's health.
Awesome. We'll put it in the show notes.
Awesome.
Well, we end every session with a rapid fire. So we're going to rapid fire, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Let's start by country or city living.
Oh, I mean, I live in New York City. I live in Brooklyn, and I like visiting the country, but I do feel like I'm a city girl. I've lived for this long in the city, and I know New York is not for everyone. But I really do like all the different types of people we have, and just really it is a melting pot, and I love that. But we're also near a park, so it's like I don't feel like I am just surrounded by high rises and things. But I think living a life, I'm a city girl.
Right on.
Okay, all right, I hear you.
How about pancakes or scrambled eggs?
Oh, I mean, both ultimately, but that's a good combination, I think. I mean, if I had to choose one, like on a menu and I couldn't have both, I would probably choose scrambled eggs. But I recently made these, kind of sound not great, but these cottage cheese pancakes. So, high protein and they were really, really good. So, don't let anyone dissuade you from ever using cottage cheese in a recipe, because honestly, I feel like it can only kind of not only pump up the protein, but be really creamy and taste really delicious.
We're going to need that recipe from you.
I know. I'm like, that sounds interesting. I need that. All right. How about morning person or night owl?
Yeah, that's a tough one too, especially since now I work for myself. I worked for a long time for other people when I'd have to get up. I would say it's so I feel like if I had to choose, I would say late morning, like this time. Because I'm not necessarily someone that likes to get up super early, but I see the advantage of it. But then at the same time, I value sleep so much that I maybe I stay up like later than the majority of maybe friends and things, but not late. Like I won't stay up past midnight because I will be a wreck the next day. Like I just can't do it. So I think if you asked me this when I was in my 20s, I would definitely say night owl. But now that I understand so much the value of sleep, I can't be a night owl anymore. I just can't get through the next day.
I hear you. Right there with you.
Yeah. I wish I could. Okay, so this is our question, the one consistent question we ask everyone. What's the best piece of advice you ever received, or what's the best advice that you could give?
Yeah, that's a really great and difficult question. So thinking about advice that I've been given and I now kind of also give out, and it was something I read, not necessarily something that someone specifically said to me, is to just truly be aware of the things that are within your control and the things that are not in your control.
Right.
So, understanding that the only thing that you can really do is control how you react to things, and you can't control the sort of outside forces that happen. So if something is happening to you, understand that you are in control of how you react to that thing. And I know that sounds a little bit vague, but to me, that made just such a difference in understanding, that I do have control over how I react to things. And, it's that whole respond and don't react, like make sure that you take a moment to respond to those things and don't have this sort of knee-jerk reaction. I think that's also really, really important. And now talk to, other women and other people in my lives about that, because I think we forget so much that a lot of these things are not within our control, but what we do is the thing that is within our control. We're the only ones. So I think I need to remind myself of that often. So it's good to kind of keep that in my back pocket and understand it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Choice. Yeah. We have a choice. I love that advice. Well, Sue, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom. Our audience knows where to find you. And gosh, we just hope that you have a great day. We love talking to new people on the podcast and getting to know them a little bit better. So thanks for sharing. And for everyone listening, that's a wrap. So until we meet again, go find joy in the journey. Thank you for listening to the Medovia Menopause Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for future episodes, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. There are more than 50 million women in the U.S. who are navigating the menopause transition. The situation is compounded by the presence of stigma, shame, and secrecy surrounding menopause, posing significant challenges and disruptions in women's personal and professional spheres. Medovia is out to change the narrative. Learn more at medovia.com. That's MIDOVIA.com.